In the busy suburbs of Portland, Oregon, there lived a woman named Emma Hayes. She was known for her kindness, the type of person who always smiled, who always showed up when someone needed her. If a neighbor's car broke down, she was there. If a friend needed to vent at midnight, she answered. If her co-workers needed extra help, she stayed late even when her own work piled high. Everyone loved Emma, but behind that warm smile, she was exhausted. Every day, she woke up early to make breakfast for her younger brother, helped her elderly father with his medicine, went to work, ran errands for friends after hours, and returned home long after dark. Her life was full, but not full of her. She lived for others so much that she no longer knew what she wanted for herself. On weekends, when people texted, "Can you help me move?" or "Can you give me a ride?" she always replied, "Sure, no problem." Even when she was tired, she said yes. Even when she was sick, she said yes. And each yes chipped away a little piece of her peace. One Friday evening, Emma sat alone at her kitchen table after another long day. Her phone buzzed again, another favor, another request. She sighed and whispered, "Why do I always say yes?" Her dog Bailey lay quietly by her feet, as if understanding her pain. That night, she couldn't sleep. Her mind replayed every moment where she put herself last. Somewhere deep inside, a small voice whispered, "You can't pour from an empty cup." The next morning, she decided to take a break. She packed a small bag, grabbed Bailey's leash, and drove toward the Oregon coast, where the sea met cliffs under endless gray skies. The sound of waves had always brought her clarity. After a long drive, she stopped at a roadside cafe overlooking the ocean. An older woman with white hair and kind eyes greeted her. Her name tag read Marjorie. As Emma ordered coffee, Marjorie noticed her tired eyes and said gently, "You look like someone who takes care of everyone but herself." Emma smiled weakly. "You're not wrong." The woman poured the coffee slowly. "I used to be that way too," she said, "until I realized I was disappearing in the process." Something about her voice felt wise, almost motherly. Emma sat quietly for a moment, then asked, "How did you stop?" Marjorie smiled. "I learned that love without limits becomes a burden. And that saying no doesn't mean you're unkind. It means you're human." The two women talked for hours. Marjorie told stories of her younger years, how she used to fix everyone's problems until one day she collapsed from exhaustion. "That day," she said, "I realized no one could save me but me." When Emma left the cafe, she carried more than just caffeine. She carried a new thought. Maybe being available to everyone is what's keeping me from myself. She checked into a small seaside inn, turned off her phone, and walked along the beach. The cold wind brushed her face as she whispered, "It's time to learn how to stop." Back in Portland, her phone filled with missed calls and texts. "Where are you? We need you. Can you drop by?" For the first time, Emma ignored them. At first it felt wrong, almost selfish. But as the hours passed, it began to feel right. She sat by the shore, writing in her notebook, "I can't please everyone. I deserve rest. I am allowed to say no." The waves roared as if agreeing with her. That night, under a silver moon, Emma made herself a promise. "From now on, I will protect my peace the same way I protect others." When she returned home, things began to change. Her co-worker, James, asked if she could stay late again. She looked at him kindly and said, "Not today, I have plans." It wasn't anger, just honesty. He blinked, surprised, but nodded. Her best friend called one evening in tears over another breakup. Emma listened for a while but then said, "I care about you deeply, but I need rest tonight. Can we talk tomorrow?" It was awkward at first, but her friend understood. For the first time in years, Emma's evenings were her own. She read books, walked Bailey through the park, learned how to paint, things that brought her quiet joy. But not everyone took it well. Some friends drifted away. Some co-workers complained that she'd changed, yet instead of guilt, she felt peace. She realized that people who only love your availability never truly loved you. They loved your usefulness. One evening, her father noticed how calm she seemed and said, "You look different, Emma. Happier." She smiled. "I just stopped trying to be everywhere at once." He nodded softly. "Your mother used to do that too." And when she finally rested, she became her best self. That night, Emma painted until midnight, colors swirling across canvas, reflecting the balance she had finally found. A few weeks later, her company held a volunteer event on a Saturday. Her manager assumed Emma would lead, as always. "You're the reliable one," he said with a grin. Emma smiled politely. "Not this time. I'm taking the weekend off." He looked puzzled. "But everyone's counting on you." She met his eyes calmly. "And I'm counting on myself." She spent that weekend driving into the mountains, no schedule, no obligations. She hiked a quiet trail where sunlight poured through trees like gold. At the top, she sat on a rock and closed her eyes. The wind whispered around her, wild, free, alive. She realized she had been waiting for permission to live differently, but the truth was, she'd always had it. As months passed, Emma became a different person, not harder, just wiser. Her boundaries became her strength. She helped others when she could, but no longer at the cost of her sanity. Her peace began inspiring others too. One day, a younger co-worker named Sophie approached her after work. "Emma, how do you stay so calm all the time? You never seem overwhelmed." Emma smiled. "I used to be, until I learned that peace isn't about doing less. It's about doing what matters." Sophie asked, "Aren't you afraid people will think you're selfish?" Emma laughed softly. "If protecting my energy makes me selfish, then I'd rather be peacefully selfish than endlessly drained." One night, Emma returned to the same coastal cafe to thank Marjorie. The ocean roared outside as the older woman poured her tea. "So," she said with a grin, "did you stop trying to save the world?" Emma nodded. "I did. I learned to save myself first." Marjorie smiled warmly. "That's the only way anyone truly helps others, from overflow, not emptiness." They sat in silence for a while, listening to waves crash against the cliffs. Then Marjorie said softly, "Remember this, dear, you teach people how to treat you by how you treat yourself." Those words would stay with Emma forever. Months turned to years. Emma's life looked quieter, simpler, but infinitely richer. She worked with intention, rested without guilt, and loved from fullness, not fear. Her boundaries didn't push people away, they attracted better ones. One evening, she hosted a small dinner for close friends. As they laughed and shared stories, one of them said, "Emma, you're glowing lately. What's your secret?" She smiled. "I stopped being available to everyone and started being available to myself." Friends, Emma's story is a mirror for all of us. We live in a world that celebrates busyness, that confuses exhaustion for success and guilt for kindness. But the truth is simple. You cannot give what you no longer have. When you constantly say yes to others, you slowly say no to yourself. You burn out, you fade, and your joy disappears. The world doesn't need a drained version of you. It needs the version that's alive, centered, and at peace. Learning to say no is not cruelty, it's wisdom. Setting boundaries is not rejection, it's protection. And protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's sacred. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to log off. You are allowed to say, "Not today." You are allowed to choose you. Because every time you respect your limits, you remind the world that your time and energy are valuable. So, if you've been living for others, always available, always saying yes, this is your sign to pause. Take your peace back, reclaim your boundaries, say no without apology. And remember, when you stop being available to everyone, you finally become available to yourself and to the life you were meant to live. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.